Hello and welcome to another episode of Try Talk. With me, as ever, after a long time this time, but we've had a good off season, is the newly crowned Dr. Scott Anderson. Welcome, Scott. And Aneta Grabmüller Soldati.
Bonjour.
How are you guys
So a
doing? How's your
doctor,
guys'?
but not newly crowned.
Also doctor, yeah, not newly crowned, sorry. I'm the only one who's not a doctor on this podcast now. How are you doing? What's new? How is what's new in the off season?
What's new is that we have finally received confirmation of next year's World Cup. And I heard there's rule changes as well, which I have to admit I haven't actually read through. So I was just trying to do that on my phone.
So I'm the only one who's prepared.
I think
I mean,
Ollie's prepared, right?
I've read what
He
you
hasn't
sent
even
me.
seen it.
I've
I
read
am
what you sent me.
prepared to give my professional. I am prepared to give my professional opinion on the rules after Aneta's explained them to our listeners.
We will start the season in Australia in March, just like we did this year. But the only difference is there's going to be only full distance race, not a short track. And it's important to mention that it's going to be the Asian Pacific Championship, and I will explain later why it's important. We will continue end of April in Greece, also only full distance race. A week later, 2nd of May, Western Park will host both full distance and short track race. We will continue middle of May in Oak Mountain, where there's going to be the North American Championship, both full distance and short track. June 20th, European Championship will take place in Molvenö. If it's actually not mentioned, but I suppose it's Molvenö.
Yeah, it is Moveno. Actually, for everyone who thinks now that this will be a nice, sunny and dry race because it's not at the end of the year, psych, because that's what I thought, and I looked it up, and actually it rains more in June than it does in September. So it is still going to be wet, muddy, and probably pretty cold.
I was in Molvenö in July last year, and it was also rainy, so I guess it just always rains in Molvenö. Traditional stop August 8th, XTERRA Czech, both full distance and short track, and a new destination, the 11th and 12th race of the season and 7th stop of the season will be in China. So to summarize, we have 7 stops, and 5 of them, if I'm counting right, have both full distance and short track. And the World Championship is yet again not included in the World Cup, but the biggest changes are coming. There's going to be difference in points for Continental Championship, so the race in Australia, Molvenö, and Oak Mountain will have more points for both full distance and the short track. It's going to be 120 points for the full distance and 112 for the short track. So more than you can win in a regular World Cup race.
112 for a short track.
Yes.
That's like, what is the factor there?
No, sorry. That's only for the series finale, so it's even more complicated. In a World Cup short.
I have it here. Should I'll just read the text.
Yes, you can.
I'll read the text. Okay. Weighted points at regional championships and the finale. Regional championships, so that's Oak Mountain, APAC in Australia and Czech, award 1.2 times or 120% points. So that's where you get 120 in the full distance. And the series finale in Zhuzhou, which is China, awards 1.5 times points. So that's where you get 150 if you win the full distance. Increasing strategy and opportunities across the season.
Yes, you will have to practice your math because the normal World Cup that will be in Greece, Western Park, and Czech will give you 100 points in a full distance race, 75 in short track. Continental Champs, Australia, North America, and Europe will give you 120 points in a full distance race and 90 points in a short track. And the final race in China will give you 150 points for the full distance race and 112 for the short track. What are we thinking?
I'm thinking that everyone who was following what was happening on Instagram could have made the guess that it's going to be China, because we saw a lot of people travel to China very frequently. And otherwise,
And it's where the headquarters of XTERRA is.
yeah, which is why they want to have the race there, and it makes sense for them to have the season finale
I think it's an
there.
exciting new destination. I'm up for it.
It looked like they were building some pretty nice mountain bike trails around the area, so I think it'll be a pretty cool
Suzhou
course.
is historical center where the race is gonna be held.
I just realized I don't really know a lot about China.
I've been to China a few times. It was very exciting.
Yeah, I heard the stories, but I don't think they're suitable for this podcast. So we'll leave that for another time. No, I think it's pretty cool. It's very similar to last year's World Cup with a few tweaks, and it's nice that it's not exactly the same. I'm wondering how not including the world champs in the World Cup at all is going to turn out, because in Molveno you still had quite a turnout, or quite a few people turn up for the full distance race, because they had to go for the finale of the World Cup, which was the short track. And now in Ruidoso, which is quite far away for all of us Europeans, and it's on altitude, so it takes a lot of time to adapt. It's expensive, far to travel to, and there is no reason to go there from the World Cup perspective.
True.
So I'm not sure how that's going to turn out, if maybe some people will skip, or yeah. I've talked to some of my friends, and we were obviously thinking about the season, what's going to happen and so on. And everyone was like, the World Cup is quite expensive as it is, but it's a cool thing to do, and it makes sense to go out to a lot of the World Cup races. But for a lot of, or everyone that I talked to kind of said that in doubt, the World Championships is going to be the races kind of falls over the edge if there's not enough time or money left to go everywhere.
And I'm not sure, is there a full distance and a short track at the World Champs, or just a full
No,
distance?
I think it's just a full distance race, as far as
Just
I'm
a full
concerned.
distance race.
And I think only the people that can earn some good money will go.
But I think it'll kind of mix up who's going, right? Because it'll make the race more accessible to a lot of Americans. So I think you'll have because it's mostly
there
in
are
Europe
quite a
as
few
well,
Americans.
right?
Not in the women.
Like if you look at, I don't know, Eric Lagerstrom or somebody, right? Like he might travel to New
He's
Mexico.
a trail runner now.
I know, but you know what I mean, right? Like somebody who it may have been a little bit too much to actually travel with his schedule all the way to Europe.
Yeah, of course, it will bring more Americans, but I think a lot of Europeans are gonna skip it because the final race of the World Cup is after the World Championship. So the World Championship is not the last race of the season as it always been.
True. Well, I mean, it's kind of sad because Ruidoso looks like a pretty sick place, but yeah, we'll see. Anyways, we're not here to talk about the World Championship. We're here to talk about the World Cup.
Let's talk in terms of World Cup. There's another big new rule that has been reintroduced. Thankfully,
it's the
The
Joker rule.
We've been
Finally.
pushing for it for years. The Joker's returning, so that means that every athlete gets to receives one full distance Joker and one short track Joker, and so basically it makes going through the entire World Cup more accessible. And this is a good rule change all around. Good job.
Let's talk about strategy. Which race do you think would be the best to use the Joker on?
Well, that's a good question, and I think it will be very individual because for us Europeans, for example, skipping Australia is skipping a lot of costs and a race that is a little bit too early in a season for many of us. And even though now that it has more points, it might motivate some of the Europeans to go there. But for me personally, that will be the first race I'm gonna skip.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, first of all, probably the smartest thing is to not skip any race on purpose in case you get ill or you have a puncture. But that besides the point, because Dominic was here until this morning and we had some conversations about that as well. And if you're going to skip a race to save on travel or save on money or whatever, the smartest thing would be to save a race or to skip a race where there's a short track and a full distance, because you get a joker for each, as far as I understood it. So if you skip Australia, then you have a joker to skip another short track potentially somewhere, or to just have the best result count.
As you said, you might crash, you might have a flat tire, and I mean, these things can happen both full distance and short track. So I think if you plan the season and your goal is to do the workup and do it well, then probably the best is not to skip any races, and you will probably end up skipping them involuntarily, like all of us.
You know what the other advantage of not skipping any of the races is? You get to go to all the cool places and do interesting stuff with your friends.
I think is really interesting is how this rule plays with the multiplication aspect just introduced in the last rule, right? So the fact that certain championships have more points on offer kind of incentivizes you. So let's say you're based, don't worry about where you're based, and imagine you can fly to all of the races, right? And if you desperately want to skip one race, then it would be Weston Park because that theoretically has the least points on offer. But the reality is, for most of the European-based triathletes, Weston Park is actually relatively easily accessible, right? And so what XTERRA have done, and I think it's smart, is they have said, okay, you can skip going to China, and it's okay for you to skip the points from like world championships in the short track and from the full distance, but you're skipping out on a lot of points, much more than if you were skipping out on a race here, in Trentino or in Weston Park.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a smart way to make people come to the races that they value the highest, which are the continental champs and then the China one. And I think probably the best strategy, as we said before, is to not purposely skip any race until maybe late in the season, because injuries and sickness and mechanicals happen and so on. But the other thing, you also, if you do want to, for whatever reason, if you want to skip a race specifically, you also have to consider which races have which numbers of competitors. So where is the turnout the highest? Like, as you know, in Czech is always packed with people. There's loads of good athletes, and it's relatively hard to score a good result there. Whereas if you go to Australia, for example, the turnout will be a lot lower and it's easier to get more points.
And not to forget the rule that you still have to do 2 continental champs in order to be eligible for the overall World Cup prize money is still in place. So that hasn't changed. So if you're gonna skip Australia, you gotta do Oak Mountain and Mulvaney.
I read at the bottom of the email that all of the elite athletes have to submit some stuff. So if you haven't yet and you are lazy and you haven't read the entire email, you should scroll to the bottom and do that in order to be able to race with us. This is our service announcement for you.
Okay, do we have any more like gossips? Who's gonna race? Who's gonna do the whole World Cup? Who's switching to TT? Who's retiring?
I mean, I've seen Serriers continuing to ride his TT. We know that Solen and Jens are both doing 70.3. Oliver just said he has some Wi-Fi issues. He's going to be back.
Yes. I have
Okay.
talked to Solan, and she said she's not gonna do any XTERRA races. And I think that
Okay.
applies to Luan as well. Or at least she said that it's gonna be this year. It has been her last XTERRA World Championship, but I don't know if that means that she's not gonna race any XTERRA or if only it applies to World Champs.
True. And Solen tends to change her mind sometimes.
Yes.
So you have to say that as well. I'm not quite sure, but I think I remember talking to Jens, and he said he wants to do a bit more XTERRA next year again compared to this year.
Well, he's already qualified for the 70.3 World Champs, so he has that secured.
Yeah. But I think, yeah, I don't know. I don't know specifically of anyone in the men's field who said who's gonna disappear to race 70.3. I think we
Well,
know that
Joe is gonna disappear completely.
Kieran McPherson is gonna come.
Yes,
Yeah,
he's
Kieran.
retiring.
Honestly, I talked about this with Dominic. He was fifth, I think, at the World Champs this year, which is like a fifth behind yeah, Jens, Felix, Serrier, and then Maxime Chanet. And he was like probably the best performance of his life, which is quite a good way to end a career. Shout out to Kieran, the wild man. Um,
I think Sebinav is not gonna do the whole World Cup for sure.
yeah, I'm sure he'll be racing, but I don't think he's going to be doing the World Cup because he's working as a teacher now.
Mm.
Mm,
I bought a TT bike.
but you bought a house and all sorts of other stuff. So,
That has
and you
nothing to
always
do with
say, "Ah, I'm not going to race XTERRA anymore," but you still show up. So
Yeah, but I did not have a TT bike before. Now I do. But we will see.
that's not very useful for XTERRA. So
No, it's not.
mm, I don't know. I think we'll see. I think we'll see the normal fluctuation of some people try and do a bit more road. Some people who have tried that will maybe come back and do a bit more Xterra. But we'll see.
A topic I was going to open was evaluation of the World Cup. Who do we think the winners of this World Cup are? So who's happy with their year?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about it on personal level as well. Like, yes, I'm happy with what I achieved, and I did have some good results, but I could have probably achieved way more if I haven't been sick and injured. So it's always a balance. Like, you can never expect that everything will go smoothly and you will achieve everything you have planned for, and you will never get sick and you will never get injured, and you will do every race. And like, I think there is so much unpredictability in extra racing that it's hard to judge.
I know someone who's going to be very happy, or who was very happy with their performance, which is Hannah. She was well, much. What was she in the end? Third, I think, or
Fourth.
fourth?
Fourth,
Fourth, right? Fourth. It was close in the end, right? It was
30
Yeah, it
points.
was
yeah. But she, I think at the beginning she said she wanted to be in the top 10, and now she was fourth. So that's someone I know was very happy, so I can say that. I don't know for anybody else, and I don't want to speculate. So
I think Isla Headley should be happy with her season. I think Isla was by far the breakout of the season.
But yet again, she can be very disappointed about her flat tire in Malvano, where she would have be probably on a podium.
Yeah, but I still think, I mean, she was just incredible, and to show such promise at such a young age is really cool. So I think she's one of the winners of this season, in my book, at least.
also a very lovely and down to earth person. So we
Yes.
met her in by chance in Germany for the pre-ride, and she tagged along. It was very nice.
I think we can expect a lot from Ayla next year.
Where can we expect the best parties? Because Germany's not on the World Cup anymore, so that is a loss.
That's a good question, but I don't party, so I don't know anything about it.
Did you forget that Aneta's lame and doesn't party?
Yeah.
We had a whole
I'm the
YouTube.
only mother on the XTERRA circuit.
We had a whole short about this.
I think Aneta is just the kind of person that you need to get 2 to 3 drinks in very early. So just be like, "Fuck it, Dad, take my kid, and I'll come and party with you guys." And
We
what's
shall
it?
not talk
What
about
else?
that.
I think
Huh?
Aneta's actually secretly an animal, but
I
just
actually
I
doesn't
am
want to.
not
remember what
an
happened
animal.
after
I
we
am
had
an
a
animal.
few beers with Anna and Debbie in the US 2 years ago.
Do you have any history of a lot of partying? So
Yeah, I have. I have. We went to Walmart to get more beer and chips, and you were very happy, like with a massive bag of chips and just dancing around Walmart, like yeah, I don't know.
yeah, I
It
basically
was
quit drinking since I got pregnant and then had a baby, and I haven't been drinking since. So it's been more than 3 years now. So then if I get a drink, yeah, I can have just one and be in a very good mood.
See, so even less to pass the party threshold.
So have we covered everything
Right.
there is to cover about next year? I think that XTERRA overall have done a really good job kind of setting the incentives for the professional athletes. I think the points being reorganized are a good thing. I think looking at jokers is a really good thing. Uh, and I think that the way that the World Cups were scheduled, it being more of a, instead of it being a stick incentive, it's more of a carrot, with all the points. I think they did a good job. Yeah, that's my 5 cents on
Yeah,
it.
I also like it. And there is a lot of short tracks, which I think is great because it's interesting to watch. It's popular. I hope
And
that,
if you turn out, if you fly out to a race, you might as well do 2
yeah,
races.
exactly. So I hope there is a coverage of the short tracks. The only thing that remained unchanged is the prize money. I personally, I mean, of course, I wish we had more, but I don't think we can ask for more.
Fair enough. One thing that I would be interested in, and I don't know if any of you have any information about that, but is the which races are going to be televised. If there's going to be more coverage, less coverage, same, whatever. Because I think especially covering the short tracks is always quite a cool thing. I know a lot of people watch it, and with 5 short tracks on the circuit now, it'd be cool to have basically every race televised.
I wish there was a little bit more attention to the racing on social media as it was in 2024. In 2025, there was so little. They did not communicate the World Cup standing, how it changes, and so on, which I thought it was a pity. I really liked it the year before, and I know that people that dedicated themselves to the World Cup were kind of sad about it. So I hope they will bring that back.
Yeah, and if you think about these things, I mean, they have sort of a um, time to maturity, right? So look at Hannah and Ben, two new names that kind of followed the entire circuit. Uh, I think because of the 2024 season, right? Because you had this precedent of a lot of attention being shown and given to these athletes, and so now we will see how that actually unfolds in the next season based on the actions of last year, right? If that makes sense. So, um, yeah, I think it's all kind of stagnated a little bit based off of that fact, or
Yeah, but
stagnated, rather.
from what I've heard and what people have told me is that it always depends a little bit on the overall marketing strategy of XTERRA. And in 2024, they were focusing a lot on promoting the World Cup as like a professional series of racing, whereas this year it was a little bit more about trying to market the lifestyle associated with XTERRA, which they did in the Beyond the Finish Line video series, which followed some people around the World Cup circuit. By the way, the final episode is out and has been for quite some time. So if you haven't seen it, you should go and watch it now because it is very epic and features a lot of lovely people.
A lot of fun moments, like Scott crying after the short track. So go
Yeah,
watch it.
indeed.
That was really sweet. I guess so. Do we have anything else to talk about
No, we kept
overall?
it short, but
Yeah, short
yeah.
podcast, but overall good changes from Xterra. I think um, after the Christmas period, we could get Scott's coach on. That would be a good idea, I think, to talk about specific training for Xterra. How he comes from more of a
Talking about
rural.
coaches, Hannah changed the coach. She is now coached by the same coach as Solen and Jens, Christian.
We should ask Christian if he wants to come on as well. We can have an episode with 2 coaches, see what different opinions they have or where they agree, and maybe our listeners can draw some conclusions for their own training.
I think
That
that
sounds
Or
would
good.
we should put them completely off the track so they train wrong and then we are better in comparison. Yeah, maybe that's a good idea. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That sounds good. Thanks, Aneta. Thanks, Scott, for your time. Thanks so much for listening, and we will see you later. Ciao, ciao.